Welcome back everyone. Time to do another worth it video in the later part of 2020. As you guys may know, I've been covering a ton of phones throughout the year, and I love going back and trying to figure out which ones did well, which ones didn't, which ones people still care about. And what I can tell you is with the Samsung Galaxy S8, I think last year I saw how big of a community there was between this phone and maybe even the S8 Plus, just because when this phone was pretty much announced that it wasn't going to be getting One UI 2, there were so many people who were like, oh my god, this phone, I cannot believe it, I still own the S8. And this was just back in 2019. This phone came out in 2017, and for an Android phone, for people to still be using it for that long, I think is pretty impressive. And with the S8, I mean, this phone, in my opinion, could have not only handled One UI 2, but now that the One UI 3 beta came out and I saw what pretty much happened with that, the Galaxy S8 could have easily handled it without a doubt. And that's just a testament to how well the Galaxy S8 was, but also not only just the performance and software experience, but the build quality as well of this phone. And when I look at phones like the Galaxy S20 that we just got, and even phones like the Galaxy Note 20, the standard bottom tier model, not the Note 20 Ultra, you have to look at this phone and give it a lot of respect. The fact that Samsung put a plastic back on the Note 20, but they put a glass back on a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S8 is a very interesting thing that they did. I don't know why they went backwards this year, but the S8 you can pick up for less than $200 in a lot of places. And I probably won't link an S8 in the description, but I'll link an S10 or S10e or something. If you want to pick it up from there, you can help support the channel at the same time. Now with the Galaxy S8, one of the biggest aspects and one of its biggest things about the S8 in my opinion that still hold up in the later part of 2020, even going into 2021, is the display. This is a 5.8 inch Super AMOLED display. It's 1440p. Not only does it look good, it performs well, and it doesn't have 90 Hz or 120 Hz, but it looks extremely good for a 2017 panel, and even not for a 2017 panel. When I look at phones like the Galaxy A71 or A51 or whatever, even the budget phones that we have now, the panels just don't really match up with this specific phone. And like I said before, that is a testament to how well Samsung did in this day and age. One of my favorite phones ever, and definitely one of my favorite screens on an older phone. You have very little bezel on the top and bottom, which is really impressive, and you have a curved display as well, which, like I said before, is another huge asset for this device. And that's what I love about it, especially around that 2017 era. These old phones don't even look like old phones, which is really awesome. Now you have USB Type-C on the bottom, as well as a headphone jack, as well as a microSD card slot. Now it's not on the bottom, it's on the side or at the top or something. And like I said before, you look at the phones like the Note 10, the base model, and the Note 20, the base model. Why did Samsung take away that microSD card slot on those devices? It is actually said, and I hope it's not true, that potentially Samsung will actually take out the microSD card slot in the next Samsung phone. Now I don't know if that's 100% the case. I have no way to verify that, but again, that's another thing that I'm just kind of upset about if Samsung were to do it. Now on top of the back, we have that glass back, like I said before, wireless charging, which is awesome. You have a single camera setup up top, and you have that fingerprint sensor as well, which is really cool. Now with that camera, it is a single camera, which maybe people care a lot about it in this day and age. I especially do. Okay, I think if you have a single camera setup, you can have the best single camera setup, but you can also have a really decent double camera setup or triple camera setup that would technically be better than that single camera, and it has a lot to do with functionality and just the features in general. Now with the Galaxy S8, it does have that 12 megapixel sensor, which I think is pretty good. I think the S7, S7 Edge, that era, even the S6, those Samsung phones always had really good cameras. But as we get, older and older, and as these phones get older and older, and these new phones keep getting better and better, we start to compare this phone against that phone. And I can definitely tell you when the S8 came out, I think that year it was pretty much said that it had one of the best cameras. I think the Pixel 2 or 2 XL probably took the lead on that year, but still the Galaxy S8, in my opinion, has a pretty decent camera setup. It can do 4K at 30, and if you're outdoors, if you're taking photos like that, I think for a majority of the task, you're probably going to be okay. I don't think you're going to get the best looking photos or the best looking photo, camera videos or whatever from this phone compared to any other phone that came out in the last 2 years. But I think for a 2017 phone, like I said, it's actually not bad. Now, unfortunately, the same year we got the iPhone 10 that I think probably has a better camera than this. Not only can you have, a dual camera setup, but you can also do 4K at 60. but I think the S8's camera is actually pretty decent. And even in the later part of 2020, we just got the Note 20s and Note 20 Ultras. I think this camera setup is probably better than not. On the front, you also have a 8 megapixel wide angle lens and a 2 megapixel iris scanner, which I never knew if it did anything. I think it was just like an eye tracing thing. Other than that, I don't think it really had functionality to increase in the camera quality. You can do 1440p videos on it, but other than that, for the most part, it's a pretty much, done deal when it comes down to the camera. I think it's probably a good camera to pick up, but I probably wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people. But I think in terms of the camera setup, that really hits on it for the most part. Now, another really interesting aspect, like I mentioned earlier on this video, was the software experience and software lifecycle. And unfortunately, this phone is not getting any more software versions, which really does suck. I was hoping this thing could have gotten one more version of Android or 3 more or whatever. Unfortunately, that is not the case. It stopped at One UI 1, which I think is actually not a horrible place for this thing to stop at, but I wish it got one more version of Android. We've seen the One UI 3 beta come out, and I think it's a pretty okay thing. It seems it doesn't seem like a monumental step coming from the previous version of One UI 2, if that makes any sense. But you could say the same thing about Android 11. You can say the same thing about a lot of different things as well. But I think when it comes down to this specific Android, I think it gets a thumbs up for me in terms of software experience. I guess, if you can throw a custom launcher on it, it'll be set. Another thing to keep in mind though is when it comes down to custom ROMing and everything, unfortunately you cannot custom ROM the Snapdragon version of these phones, which I think is what a majority of people have. You can only custom ROM the Exynos versions, and even then it's not really that big of a community. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But performance wise, I think this phone, like I said, it surprises me more than it doesn't. And I think I did compare the Note 20 versus the S8 in a speed comparison. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. And I just did, maybe I did that a month ago, I don't remember. But this thing has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 chipset and octa-core CPU and 4 gigs of RAM on the only model that it's supported with. And what I can tell you about this whole entire phone experience is that I think for the most part, it gets the job done. It definitely gets a thumbs up for me on my books in terms of the performance aspect. It's not the best performing device. It's really not even probably the best performing device of the 2017 era. I'd honestly probably give that to the Pixel 2 or 2 XL for being still extremely smooth. But I think when it comes down to the performance, if you install that custom launcher on it, I think you can probably be pleasantly surprised. Games still play on it, obviously. I don't know when Android 9, that expiration date is going to come from apps in the App Store, but I think when you're using this device and you're going through day by day, you're really going to have a pretty decent experience. Now, I want to preface this whole entire thing by saying I'm probably overhyping it up, and I know I'm overhyping it up because it's not something I would use every day. I wouldn't want to use this device, especially even if you just go to a Galaxy S9 or Galaxy S10, you'll have a phenomenally better experience. But I think when you think back to 2017 and you think back to the Pixel 2s and the iPhone 8s and the 8 Pluses, this really is kind of in that same ballpark. It's not really crazy below it. It's definitely not the fastest phone of 2017, but I think even being in 2020 going into 2021, I don't think this is a bad performing phone. And I've said things like it before that it's good, it's not. I think it's for a 3-year-old phone, almost going to be a 4-year-old phone. I think it's better off than not. I don't think it's the best, and I wouldn't use this phone right now in 2020. But games still play on it, like I stated before. Apps still open, things are still supported. Apps are still getting updated through the App Store. So for the most part, you're probably going to be okay. But like I said before, it would not be my first choice of picking up this specific phone in terms of the performance over any other phone in my opinion. Now with that being said, if you're still using a Galaxy S8, I would love to know how your experience has been because I don't think it's going to be the best, but I think for a majority of people, like I stated, you're probably not going to be extremely happy, but you're probably not going to be super upset either. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. Battery life wise, this thing has a 3000 mAh battery. It wasn't really the best battery life when it came out, and it's still really not that great. Because these batteries are locked in, you can't, replace them or anything. They degrade like crazy, and I've always found that Android devices degrade a lot more than a lot of iPhones that I've owned. So that's another important thing to keep in mind. I think in terms of battery life, I'd probably give it an average score for a 2017 device. Standby time isn't even really that great on it either, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And to kind of sum up this whole entire video and to answer the question, is the Galaxy S8 still worth it in the later part of 2020, and or should you still pick it up? And what I can tell you is that if you have no other phones in your vicinity, let's say you can't go on eBay, you can't buy anything on Amazon, you can't even whatever, then yeah, I don't think it's a bad device. I would definitely say if you need a side phone phone, like if you're owning like a Galaxy S20 or an iPhone 11 Pro or something and you're afraid of breaking it and you want a phone on the side just in case that breaks, then I think a Galaxy S8 really isn't that bad of a way to go. Like I think it actually handles things perfectly fine. But like I said before, if you are somebody who has, a budget that can be a little bit bigger, let's say you can go and spend like $100 more than what the Galaxy S8 could be sold for, then I think going to a Galaxy S9 may be a little bit better, but not even that. I would probably go for a Galaxy S10 or a Galaxy S10e. I feel like those devices, that set of phones, even though it's one generation old, will do you so much better than picking up a Galaxy S8. You don't have to go buy the brand new devices, but between an S8 and S10 price tag, I don't think there's going to be like a crazy amount. Or maybe there's like $100 and something, maybe $200, but I would still recommend you to go that way than go for the Galaxy S8. If you're still using a Galaxy S8, then I think that's a little bit of a different story because it's already in your possession. And I would definitely say like if you can make it up until like the end, like later 2020, like probably like December, or if you can even make it till like the Galaxy S21s come out, then I think that would be really interesting. I think that'd be a pretty good thing to do because then you can pick up a Galaxy S20 for a lot cheaper in the used market. But if you don't own either of these phones, then like I said, picking up a Galaxy S10 or S10e would be the best way that I would recommend. Again, you can do whatever you want to, it's a free country, but that's personally what I would do in that situation. So that really pretty much covers it out. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.